In today's video, I'm going to remove this radio from this 2007 Hyundai Entourage. This radio, which is in here now, it's a Pioneer, it's an AVIC X940BT, it's a GPS DVD receiver. This radio is just giving me all kinds of problems. The camera's just gone out, that was the last straw. The GPS I can't stand, my wife can't stand this thing, and of course of all people's vehicles that this had to happen to, it was of course the wife's car. I wish I never cursed her with this blasted radio. I can't stand this thing, and I can't wait to get something that's actually going to perform the way it should. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to replace it with this Clarion. It's an NX602. I would have gave it a 702, but she really likes this rotary knob, so that's what she's going to get. And I'm also going to add in a Sirius XM tuner. You also notice that I put down this cloth. You don't want to damage the vehicle. I also have a power probe which I'm going to be using, which can tell me different voltages. Pretty straightforward vehicle to work on, not a big deal. This is a good investment. Plastic puller or panel puller. I'm going to use this here hook tool to pull some of these panels out. Standard Phillips basic wiring stuff, crimper, stripper, some tape. I'm going to use some crimp caps to make my connections. This vehicle also is equipped with a rear view camera and a satellite radio system. So right now it's using the Pioneer hub, which is the CDSP10, which is located right behind there, as well as an SCC1. And also in here, there's the iPod cable which runs through the glove box. So we're going to redo that. The antenna is mounted up on top there below that piece of plastic, so it's kind of well concealed. And this vehicle also has two amplifiers as well as a sub in it. Underneath the front passenger seat I have a Memphis M-Class 4-channel there, and on the other side behind one of the children's seats there's a Soundstream 2-channel which is for the sub. And in case you wanted to know where I mount my antenna, that's where it went right there. So now I'm going to put the camera down, get it set up so you can watch me do this thing. Just going to hop in, close up the door. Hopefully it won't be too noisy. Okay, so first thing is down here on the bottom half, you're just going to take this tool and just pry. These are just clips that hold this piece together. Just going to take that out real slow. Okay. There's really no need to have to unplug all this stuff. You can just actually, might as well. It's just one plug. Some vehicles have tons of plugs. This one's just got the one, so just get it on out of there. Alright, so now we're on to part two. So what we're going to do here is get this big top piece out of here. And the way I'm going to do that is just get on in there. Again, using a plastic tool, you don't want to use a metal or something that's going to be hard and make an indentation into the vehicle. That's never good. People don't like that when you do that to their cars. And down here you got a couple of Phillips. This isn't my first time in this vehicle doing this job, but you know, my memory is not so great anymore. I'm thinking that this whole piece will just kind of fight me a little there. There it goes. Sorry if I'm blocking the view, but I kind of got to get my job done here. Alright. That's pretty typical stuff of Hyundais and really most cars, honestly. Up here you got the little plug dealie. It does your clock and your passenger airbag light. This is what I removed. I'm just going to take this and get rid of it. Put you over there. Alright. So we're good so far. So down here, this unit here is just mounted into this double DIN bracket. It's got 2 screws here, 2 screws here. I'm gonna just basically pull it out, unplug it, rewire it, put the new head unit into the kit, same as it was. But there's gonna be a cajillion wires back here, I know. This thing's got 6 RCAs for the front, rear of the sub, the rear view camera input. It's got a dedicated video output for the rear screen, VSS, vehicle speed sensing wire, GPS antenna, iPod cables. Man, this thing's got everything. Satellite radio. I think that's everything. And back here there's a couple screws hiding. Pain in the ass to get these things out. I'm gonna need something else for this job. Okay. Got all the dash removed. Now this screwdriver just didn't cut it to get to this. The screw hiding way back in here. And it's impossible to get. So I got this gigantic screwdriver, which is a must-have tool in doing this kind of stuff. It's good for a lot of stuff. Good to run tack wires, getting stuff through the firewall. You can just pop it through. Good for that, obviously. Again, always take your time. No rush. It's always quicker to do it once than to do it wrong twice. And there is a whole shitload amount of wires in here. Holy cow. My goodness. Well, we'll just start with one, right? There's the antenna, GPS, this ridiculous Pioneer freaking RCA harness, iPod cable, microphone, power speaker harness. This is for the satellite radio. Back here I got some cables that just want to fight. So you want to fight? I'll give them a fight. You don't want to ever pull on these. That's never a good idea. You could really do some damage. I've seen guys bust off the tip of the RCA and leave it in the receiver. And all kinds of stupid stuff people do. So take your time. Take your time. Excuse me if I'm in the way. I gotta get these things out of here. Alright, there they go. These Pioneer IP bus plugs are always a joy. Especially, they give you no room to get your fingers in there. I don't even have big hands. This is just a pain in the ass. Pioneer. Never again. Hell no. Alright, so there's what we're working with. Lucky me. Alright, so first things first, there's a harness in here. It's tucked away. I'm guessing most of this crap is, this is iPod. Won't need it. And in here, I could have done better. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go get a marker and I'm going to label it, because I got a lot of RCAs. So instead of reconnecting the unit and doing a fader balance and getting it all right, it'd probably be a lot quicker for me to just mark them up real fast right now. That is what I'll do. So we got here? Front left, front right. And we got rear left, rear right. We should have sub in here someplace. What is this? That's the rear video. I know what that is. Where the heck is the sub? This is my rear. This is my cam. Out. Okay. There's that. I can only guess that the subs were too short and it popped off. Probably in there somewhere. So there's your RCA plug. Done. Now in here, this is the factory harness where the stock receiver would have plugged into. I usually like to put a P-tie on there just to keep it tight. Just what I've done here. I'm going to redo all this stuff, so I just want to clean all these wire ties out of here for now. Now this lead here, I know is from my reverse, yep. I remember seeing that because, like I was mentioning before, the camera input, I don't know what happened. I thought it was a camera. Apparently it's not. It's probably this piece of shit radio. Now here, you'll notice that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs of speaker leads. These run from under the seat from my 4-channel highs amp, which run into the stock harness, so that's how I grabbed all my wires for the vehicle. Now in here, you'll notice that I got the 2 pairs of whites, which are my front left, the grays are my front right, purples are my rear right, greens are my rear left. I'm going to snip these so I can still distinguish the colors. So when I go back to do this again, I want to make sure I know exactly what I'm doing. So I have my RCA outputs from the receiver labeled, which is my output side, and then here's my return. I want to know what's going on, so leave that there, because when you get done, you clean it up, you're going to cut off all these caps anyway and start from scratch. So now what we should be left with is this, which used to be the parking brake circuit, which we're not going to need because Clarion doesn't play that bullshit. Then you got these 2 guys, which are going to run down into here. I know. This here is my satellite radio. Might as well just yank that out. Again, these IP bus plugs are a pain in the ass. This big ugly thing. This is going to be replaced with the new tuner, which is by far, wow, I mean, look at the difference. ugly. New and improved. However, this here antenna I can reuse, and I will reuse it. But a word of caution, because I did a similar job with the JVC, and for whatever reason the JVC likes a proprietary antenna that comes with it. So if you ever have a hard time getting signal, that's the reason why. But in this case I know that's not going to be a problem, so I'm not going to worry about it. But it's a how-to video, so there's the how-to part of it. Now, down here is more stuff. Get rid of all of this unnecessary wiring, clean it out, and start over from scratch. I don't like to leave remnants of an old installation when I'm doing a new one. It's messy, it's kind of, you know, it's not the way to be. If you're gonna do it the right way. So this here is the other end of my power plug from the Sirius. I can see that this is rather tight. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna cut it so I have as much length left over as possible. I'll probably sell this kit. It should come right out. There you go. There's the power plug from the old satellite radio. That's gone. Now we got this guy, which is from the satellite radio again. You can usually work around this stuff. You don't have to. Okay, so there's my speakers. This is my sub. My sub takes a mono input, so I just use the Y splitter from the Pioneer to it. Clarion's one better. They have a stereo sub output. So I'm going to assume that that's going to actually make a difference in the sound quality, which is appreciated. Excuse me for just a second. Okay. Okay, so we got turn on lead. Now if you have a blue wire in your vehicle and you don't have a power antenna, there's probably a good reason why you might want to use it, because some vehicles are equipped with active antennas, which you should always energize. And usually the metric kit that you get, or the metric harness, should give you everything you need, but if you ever run into a jam, that would probably be a reason why you get lousy reception. Okay, so that's it. The old harness is gone. Now we can start over from scratch. So what we got left is the old toggle switch, which was for the video bypass on the Pioneer. This is the reverse signal input. The factory harness with the 8 speaker leads. I have my 8 speaker lead output from my amp on this side. I capped them off color to color, so that way I know which are which. Over here we got the orange, which is the illumination, yellow is constant, red is accessory, black is ground, and that's really all there is to it. Back here I have a flat, this Memphis flat 5-channel RCA preamp harness, which runs out onto the seat to the amps. I'm not going to utilize this Y splitter anymore, so that's that. This here is the old iPod plug. We're not going to utilize that anymore. We're not going to utilize this mic because Clarion has one built right into itself already. Maybe what I'll do is I will address that microphone. mic is mounted in this vehicle, right in this location. I kind of did a nice stealth job on it. I know I did. It's a shame to see it go because it was so nice, but whatever. I can't stand this radio, that's for damn sure. So what I'm going to have to do in this case, apparently, is this thing's going to have to come out. Now, I'll deal with the mic. You know what? Before I jump, this unit does take an external mic, so maybe I might even consider utilizing this. So I'll not be hasty. I'll leave that there for the time being. I'll think about that for a minute before I go ahead and do that. Leave that alone. Alright, so that's that. This here I marked. I got my video output. That's my camera input. It's a video output. I mean, now everything should be pretty straightforward. However, I noticed that there's one thing missing, which is this. This here is my camera. I mean, not my camera, my GPS antenna. That GPS antenna I know is located right up in here. Use this stuff. This here is called butyl, if you were wondering, if you ever seen this and didn't know what the heck it was. It's like Play-Doh. It's for adults. It's really cool. And I used a magnetic, you know, piece for underneath the antenna just for external interference. Bundled up what I didn't need to utilize and left enough for me to do my job, and that's a GPS antenna. It's not always necessary to have to put on your roof or put it over there where it's some ugly eyesore. You turn on your unit, read the GPS reading. If the GPS shows you it's strong, it's good enough. Leave it be. So now we got this iPod cord to deal with. So, get this thing out. This thing actually isn't even that old. It's only like a year old. I mean, now this thing is like a relic. You know, who utilizes all this bus cables and stuff? Now it's just a USB and maybe some audio video. I mean, this is ridiculous. We won't be needing anything that crazy anymore. And that's only half it. Pioneer makes you get this piece and all this here crap. I mean, come on. Like freaking $50 and just the iPod cables. Kind of silly. Gone. 30 feet of wire for the iPod. Alright, so now we can start over. And that is what we will do. Now, even though I'm not going to utilize this video bypass, I'm going to leave it there anyway. I'm not going to take it out because you never know what might be coming around a corner, what you might use in the future. So, I'll try not to be hasty. Alright, let me go get some parts and get this thing back in there. Okay, so now I'm ready to reinstall the new unit. And this here, just so you know, the Clarion original piece is called a CCA 750. You know, they're around $35–40. These are the generic cables that we sell here. All it is just a standard USB, 3 AVs for your video out and your audio left and right. This actually works just as well. So that's what I'm going to use. And that should tell you something. Even for my own family's vehicle, I'm using those cables. I'm sure they're good enough for yours. So there already is a hole in that glove box for these. The hole is not as big as the head of the iPod cable here, but it's barely big enough for me to put these guys through one by one. So, because you don't want the iPod cable to actually fall through this hole. That's definitely the last thing you want to happen. So when you do stuff like that, you want to just take a second and think about what you're doing. So that way that kind of stuff doesn't happen. So now I got the USB end. That's going to charge my iPod. Put that guy in there. This here is going to be the meeting connected to the Clarion side. Then I got the audio video. So these are all going to kind of wind up going to the same place. So what I'm going to do, just going to take those, leave about 5 or 6 inches, and just insulate it and keep these together. So whenever I run separate harnesses and cables from different locations, it's always kind of good to keep them together. You don't have to do that, but I do it. I think it's a good habit, and it's helped me out a lot over the years. All that. Now, this connection here where these two USBs join up, you don't want to leave those exposed. So what I'm going to try to do is first get this situated right here on that side where it's coming through the glove box. I don't like these wires being all loose like that, so I'm just gonna harness those up just a little. That's about how much I need right there. And with what's left, if I can, I'm going to take a wire tie, put it on this side. I'm going to grab right here. I'm not going to squeeze down on the cable. I'm going to try not to. Do the same thing on the other side. Because for if any reason this thing ever has to get pulled on, and you have an old mechanic comes in here, or something down there, or air conditioning or something, and somebody yanks on this, troubles you can do without. So I got a little bit of stuff extra left over here. Just neaten it up a little bit. So now I got my iPod all taken care of. Leave that right over there. Actually, let me pull it through. Notice I'm going behind all this stuff, underneath the vent, away from everything, and always leave yourself, a good enough amount of slack. So God forbid if you had to adjust something or add something, a peripheral or whatever down the road, you want to have enough so you can pull the unit out and spin it sideways so you can actually work on it. You don't want to leave yourself in a jam where there's not enough space to do your job, so try to do that. So there's my iPod stuff, and still you see I got a big heap of wires. So I'm going to, again, pull that up. There's plenty of room in there to just stuff your stuff, so just, there you go. Now this here is my amp turn-on wire. So you see I got a blue here, and I got a blue over here. This here is for the factory's active antenna or power antenna, which I seriously doubt anybody these days is using, but since I have the blue from the Clarion, which is the antenna turn-on lead, that's going to go here. Over here is going to go to blue-white for the amp turn-on. So now I have that done, that done. Now I can move on to the next step. now I'm going to reinstall my GPS antenna just like I did from the old installation. And again, if you missed it, my old antenna installation was like so, where I had the antenna with a piece of butyl, rubber butyl, which I use because it sticks really well to that foamy fuzzy stuff in there. And up in here is where I want it, right underneath here. I don't want to see it, but I want it to get a good clear shot to the sky. This vehicle's got a huge window, so this is going to work real good. So I'm just going to take my antenna, stick it on there, get some of that dum-dum on there. And you'll notice that I left myself about a foot on this side and I left myself about a foot on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and get that right where I want it. I have to do a little bit of feeling around your vehicle to find the right spot. And if she's nice and snug, sitting perfectly horizontal, you're good. And like I said again, I mean, you could turn your unit on. They're always going to have satellite markers that show you how good your strength is. So before you button it up, you might want to just check that, make sure it's good. If not, you can always move it over a little bit until you get it accurate and getting a good reading. And again, I'm leaving myself about the same amount as I did with this here iPod cable. So I got that, I got that. This here is my ground, by the way. There's a factory bolt right back there. A whole bunch of factory leads coming off of it. I ran both of my amplifier grounds up to that location. Also, I got one right here, as well as I have a factory ground here. Because in order for you to get rid of a ground loop, which is basically a difference in resistance, the potential of what the ground is on all your components, if you have a difference between one and the other, the amplifier is going to pick it up and amplify it. So you don't want that. So I have a ground here, stock ground, all my other components, everything's grounded one spot, and I know I'm going to have a good result because I've done that. So now, here are all my RCAs. Yeah. These are a little tighter than I like them to be. I'm not a fan of this, to be honest with you, but it'll have to do. Good, thank God that Clarion gives you a harness with some extra outputs, with some length I should say, and then they get plugged into the back of the receiver. I mean, just as a quick side note, I mean, Pioneer, I mean, these plugs are just so ridiculously tight. It's a horrible freaking idea whoever came up with this. These plugs suck. This thing, the right angle is a nightmare to get in there. It's right on top of this. I mean, it's like a big butt fuck going on here. I mean, it's horrible. At least Clarion gave you the opportunity to actually utilize what you do and don't want. Like for me, my RCA outputs, I'm going. Alright, so now what I'm doing is I'm wiring up my main harness. This here you can see purple, black. That's my rear right, positive and negative. Whenever I work, I always use the stripe as my positive, but you can do whatever you want. I realized this video was starting to get a little too long, so I had to cut out some of this work that I've done. But I'll take you right through it. What I've done, nothing here, that's just the antenna. Now this here is for my audio-visual input, which runs from the back. Also my camera goes right in there. This here is my GPS antenna. The stock harness, which I have wired the speaker outputs from the amp under the seat running into the harness, so it goes out into all the individual speakers. This here is my iPod cable, and my 16-pin harness for power. The 8 speaker leads that come out of the the aftermarket stereo receiver, which I'm not using because I have an amp. I just insulated and I taped them right up here. Over here is my preamp harness, and that's it. And I left myself a decent amount of slack so I can make all these connections right here into the back of my receiver. So now all that's left for me to do is to pull out this old piece of shit, take off this bracket, and then I'll have enough slack and I can lay it in there and I can test everything out, listen for engine noise, make sure my cam's working, make sure all my speaker phasing is correct, my fader, my balance is functioning properly, my GPS signal is on right. And once I verify all that, I'll put it back in there, put the 4 screws in there, lay my dash back on there, activate my satellite radio, and this should be a go. So I'm going to get this thing buttoned up and then I'll show you the finale in just a moment. And there's your finished product. I'm sorry I couldn't show you as I was buttoning the unit up because I got distracted and I kept getting pulled left and right from every direction today at work, but there it is. There's a real radio that'll work installed in this car. What a disappointment on that old Pioneer unit. But this piece looks great. And look at this. Rear view camera working. Grids nice and sharp, even at night like it is right now. Beautiful. Gotta love that. Nice.